Welcome to Brews and Boxing. I am your host, Raider Live. Good to be with you with another week of boxing news. A lot of segments this week. We got Brews and News, Brews and Reviews, and a brand new segment called Brews and Tributes. We'll get to all that in a minute. But first, I want to get to our panel of experts. Our first one just celebrated a birthday. He is now officially an extremely old man. He is the one with the filthy undergarments. He is Filthy Rich. Filthy Rich, happy birthday, brother.
Thank you. LeBron James just became a minority owner of the Boston Red Sox. Go Yankees.
Just because it's your birthday, I won't mute you for that.
Oh, sure.
All right. And our second expert that looks very disgusted up there, but nothing we can do about it. He's also going to get muted a few times this week because he can't win any game shows on this show. He is the one, the only Judge Jimmy James. Judge, how are you?
Oh, it's fair. Bring up some stingy points, man. Old stuff. But yeah, I don't know. March Madness is happening. I like March Madness. Let's do this bracket thing.
We do have a Brews and Boxing bracket between the three of us, so we haven't decided on what the bet is on that. Might be Mutes, might be Tecate. Haven't decided yet. Filthy Rich, I did want to give you this little thing before we start. There's your first birthday present from me. Throw it on old Judge Jimmy James on mute there. That's a free mute there for your birthday. there for that one. What'd you say, James? I can't hear you. What? Who? Huh? Had to get that one out of the way. All right, you guys ready for Brews and News?
And just a second, James, if you think Spence beats Crawford, say nothing. All right, man. Nice to know where you stand. Nice to know where you stand.
He's changed. All right. Well,
just wanted to clarify that. I'm ready for some Brews and News.
Are you ready for Brews and News? Judge, are you ready for Brews and News? Can't hear you.
If you are, say nothing.
Well, okay, all right. Apparently he's ready to go. All right, Brews and News, where we talk about latest news in boxing. But the first thing we do is we crack a brew because that's the name of the show. So, gentlemen, I have my Broken Clock Brewery, which I'm now a part owner of from my birthday. So, if you're ever in Minneapolis, go over to Broken Clock. Cheers. All right, Brews and News is going to be a little different this week. We're actually going to talk about 3 purported fights that are possibly coming up here. And they're all very interesting fights that I want to get your guys' opinion on. We're going to start with Wilder versus White, which apparently is going to be Wilder's new opponent since he's not going to be fighting Fury or Joshua. He's going to fight Dillian White. Filthy Rich, what do you think about that heavyweight matchup between Wilder and White?
I think if this fight can be made, it's an even fight. I do like this a lot. I don't know how to basically improve this. I think Andy Ruiz was actually in line to fight Wilder. I think Wilder, he's already beaten Luis Ortiz twice. Why not go after Luis Ortiz? So I think those 2 other opponents are just as viable as Dillian White. And on Dillian White's side, I think he matches up well with, I think he was supposed to have a rematch with the old Russian, the 40-year-old Russian.
Yeah, it's coming up. Actually. It's at the end of the month.
Yeah. So, I think that fight might be a little better than Wilder. I think Usyk needs to make his name on this division. And someone maybe like an Oscar Rivas would go really well with White. But putting White and Wilder together in the ring makes a lot of sense to me. I like this matchup a lot.
Well, he's got to get by Povetkin first. If he loses to Povetkin, I think this fight should be off. Povetkin should probably get White. But
even then, coming off loss, these are 2 guys coming off now. It would be 2 losses.
Yeah.
Who wants to keep their name relevant in the heavyweight division? I think 2 guys coming off of, if White loses the rematch, 2 guys coming off 2 losses to not same opponent, but Wilder lost twice to Tyson Fury. So
first put these guys a draw. But.
Yeah, you're right. My bad. But yeah, put these 2 guys together, regardless of the outcomes with White, and if Wilder ends up fighting someone else. I think these 2 on paper make for a very good fight.
What do you think, Judge? Do you think that's a good heavyweight battle?
Yeah, what do you think, Judge?
He's got his hand on the button.
Jesus, this is like the easy button at Staples, man. Whack-a-mole or something. Yeah, I think Wilder just needs to get back in the ring. Period. I think there's a lot of people that he can fight White being one of them, Ruiz is another. Fight Ortiz for a third time. Like, fight
Mute him,
somebody,
Raider.
man.
Mute him, Raider. He basically just agrees with me. So if you want to keep carrying on, that is one of my 2 mutes I am using today. For those who missed last week, I got 2 mutes on James for winning the Who Am I game. So James agrees with me. He's a smart guy. He's been watching Brews and Boxing, and he's been taking notes from yours truly.
Yeah, if I have to judge it, I'd say you won that category right there. I think Wilder White is definitely the way to go, and I feel like he just agreed with everything you said, right, James? Okay.
Don't say anything if you disagree or if you agree. My bad. I'll drink to you, James.
All right. Well, now we have to unmute him here because we're moving on to the next fight, which we have to have James talk about. So maybe you should hold off on your mute on this one until he starts really throwing his man crush.
Or
Sean,
James, if you have anything to add, you can add.
You have anything to add to that Wilder White, or are you good with that? All right, good talk. He is unmuted, just so you know. All right, the next fight is Sean Porter versus Terence Crawford. Everyone obviously doesn't want Crawford to. Everyone wants Crawford to fight Spence, but Porter's a nice little B fighter to fight. He's not a B fighter, but B compared to a B fight compared to the Spence fight. Porter is a strong man and a very dangerous fight for Crawford. Obviously, Crawford wanted Pacquiao too. Doesn't sound like that's going to happen for the money. What do you think, James, about Porter versus Crawford? How scared are you for that fight, for it being Crawford fanboy?
I'm not scared about it. I mean, look, if he can't fight Spence and everybody's sitting there saying he ain't got no resume and nobody else wants to fight him, if Porter wants to fight him, we've talked about Porter. We've talked about how tenacious this guy is. I mean, yes, this is going to be a fight that I would watch for sure. 100%. Like, there's no reason to shy away just because it's not Spence. If this is what everybody says, that their springboard, if they say Kell Brook was too old, that didn't count or anything like that, then why not be Porter? I mean, there's nobody else in that division besides, Pac-Man and Spence. Otherwise, you're getting into Ugas territory, who's still good, or it's Danny Garcia, or Thurman again. So it's like at this point, or not Thurman again. My apologies, but or it's Thurman.
Yeah.
But I mean, Crawford Porter. If you can't get Crawford Spence, which I just don't ever see this happening in the next 4 years, I think it's just back and forth with these two. I think Porter and Crawford would be a really good fight. I would definitely be looking forward to that.
Filthy Rich, what do you think?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, James. I think who can Crawford fight? We don't even know. It's so tough to make a fight on the PBC with these PBC guys. I look at someone like Mikey Garcia, who has like this beef with Bob Arum in Top Rank and that whole lawsuit they went through years ago. I think Ugas, like James mentioned, is another good opponent, but fights on the PBC. So you have to get a PBC fighter. Porter has fought everybody else on the PBC. He's fought Danny Garcia. He fought Errol Spence. He fought Danny. Did I already mention Danny or Mikey? I don't know. Whatever. Your
James
glasses
Danny
are
Garcia.
Your glasses are just so cool. They're distracting right now. But yeah, I think if this is the best Crawford can get, I'm happy with it. I'm not desperate to see a Crawford Spence fight. I don't think that fight happens. I don't think fight happens at this weight class. I think it happens at 154. But I don't know what happened to Crawford leaving Top Rank when Arum said what he said. Have they settled their beef with that? I don't know, but Crawford really wanted that Spence fight. He needs to go over to the PBC. That's the only way this thing seems like it's going to happen. Or Triller is going to have to get involved and make it happen.
I heard it was mainly Crawford just doesn't want it. Like the promoters all want it, and it's Crawford's that's not agreeing to it. Is what I heard.
No. Promoters are a big thing in this hardcore, man. But they are going back. Whatever you're seeing in mainstream media, they're both going back. Like, I want 80-20 split. I want 70-30 split, because they're not willing to budge on those numbers. So that's why it's never going to get done. But I mean, I haven't heard any more news on that, Rich, about him in Top Rank. I have to assume they're getting close. Maybe, I guess, not close, but they're going to split at some point. I just don't see it happening. I don't see him hanging around with old Bob Arum. Bob Arum needs to go away. Just needs to retire and pass the torch to somebody else, man. He's making a lot of people upset, but
I don't think he's gonna go away. He's like the Weekend at Bernie's guy. They're just
You
gonna
know,
bring him back.
I remember in an interview he was saying he was ready to retire, and then Crawford at Loma, and there was another fighter who all fell in his lap that weekend. And how do you retire with these guys signing with Top Rank? But
Well, it's because he says Crawford's cost him so much money. You could build a house with all the money that he's cost him.
$1 million house, millions of dollars of houses.
Talking about a filthy rich style mansion. That's what we're talking about right there. Full of guinea pigs.
Oh,
Top
yeah.
to bottom.
Yeah, guinea pigs and eggnog, right?
Yeah, it looked like tribbles in there.
God, I will drink to that, man. You guys dream bigger than me.
All right, the third fight I want to talk about, and then we're going to do a quick review of it too. The third one talking about is Thurman versus Pacquiao, which seems like Pacquiao's name is in it with every fighter nowadays in that division. You know, you hear him with the Garcias, you hear him with Crawford, you hear him with Spence, you hear him with now Thurman apparently. As we also called cement hands. I'll let you guys get into the explanation of why Pacquiao's being called cement hands. But Rich, we're going to start with you about Thurman versus Pacquiao. Is this even worth watching?
Well, I don't think this is a fight that's going to happen, but it's been reported a couple days ago. I mean, really, we should throw it to James because he has all the details. But it
All right,
sounds
fine.
like
We'll start with James then. Go ahead.
All right.
I'll throw
Yeah,
it.
this came out. Well, I think I first saw it on like Boxing News 24, where Thurman was complaining that Pacquiao's hands felt like cement when he was getting hit. And that he was very upset that there wasn't any testing done in terms of illegal substances. So he is pulling out that card the 2 years later that he just didn't get his fair shake because Pacquiao wasn't drug tested. I mean, say that for what it is. I don't. Yeah, man, it was 2 years later. I just don't believe that. I mean, Thurman's fought once in the past, like, what, 3 years? Like, he didn't fight in 2018. Then he fought Pacquiao, and he hasn't fought since. Like, dude, you run your mouth a lot. I mean, a lot. Just get back in the ring. Like, I don't know why you're hanging up on this one fight 2 years ago just to make your name relevant again. Like, there's plenty of people in your division to go fight. Just make a fight. Fight Crawford. Why not? Keep talking crap. I mean, figure something out, man. But you haven't fought. I don't know why. It's just silly to me that he brings something up like this 2 years later, for, I mean, essentially nothing. Just to throw shade, pretty much. So I don't know. That's about all I got on that. I just think it's silly. If he wants a rematch, then just try to get a rematch.
Thurman fights less than Gary Russell Jr. does. That's bad.
That's tough. That's tough to beat.
You almost have to try to do that.
Well,
What are your thoughts, Filthy Rich, about Thurman and Pacquiao after we passed it to the judge?
Yeah, this was just too little, too late on Thurman's end. Trying to keep his name relevant. I don't know what the point of this was, unless I mean, I know he's looking for a fight. Errol Spence has already said Thurman's old news. He doesn't even want to fight Thurman anymore. I don't know who Thurman can get in the ring with. So now let's start throwing accusations out there, and maybe Pacquiao will get back in the ring, and this time he'll wear some brass knuckles or something. I don't know what the point of this is. He must be looking for a big money fight, and Pacquiao is probably the big money fight out of all the guys he can probably get into the ring. I think Ugas is not a big money fight, but I'm sure Ugas could go one-on-one with Thurman. I don't think Thurman wins. I think he thinks he can beat Pacquiao. Give me one more chance. But how do I drum up some interest in this fight? Well, let's call out Pacquiao for cheating, and maybe that'll get him back in the ring. But I don't see this happening. I think Pacquiao fights Conor McGregor before he fights Keith Thurman again.
It doesn't really make too much sense to me. It just seems like he's trying to get paid. That's what it is. Maybe he gets some interviews out of it too if he doesn't get a fight. Who knows? All right, let's review those three fights here and just give you quick picks on who would win, Wilder versus White. Filthy Rich, you first.
Wilder.
Judge?
probably say Wilder.
I'm Wilder too, or it's a clean sweep there. Porter versus Crawford. Rich?
Crawford.
We don't need to ask Judge. We already know what he would say. And then I guess that's a sweep. That's Crawford for all three of us. And then Thurman, Pacquiao, if they ever got in the ring again. I'm going to go Pacquiao. Judge, we'll start with you since you didn't get the answer last time, since we already knew your answer.
No, I'd say Pac-Man, man. Pac-Man.
That is the one he got right last week. Filthy Rich.
Yeah, I'll go Pacquiao.
Well, we're all in agreement on every one of them fights. So apparently those fights don't need to happen because we have them all.
Well, remember, we were all in agreement on Burchelt versus Valdez, so...
Don't remind me about that one. Oh, that one hurt. That one hurt. Keep bringing those up.
Yeah, salt in the wound, Rich. Salt in the wound.
You want some salt in the wound? Want some salt in the wound? Go ahead and mute him one more time, Raider. Let's just get that out of the way. Thank you. I'll drink to you, Raider. Thank you.
Hey, happy birthday, brother.
Thanks, James.
My birthday, brother. All right, Filthy Rich, are you ready for Brews and Reviews?
I'm ready with James, too.
All right, speaking of getting angry, Brews and Reviews, the second fight we're talking about is one I will probably go off about. But let's start with the first one, Benevidez versus Ellis. Rich, you watched that one mainly. What did you think of that fight? Benavidez was very impressive with his ninth round knockout, I believe, of Ellis. Was it ninth round, I believe?
It was 11th.
11th? Okay.
It was the 11th round.
I knew it was late.
Yeah, it could have probably been stopped around 8, maybe even as early as 6. But Ellis had a lot of fight, a lot of heart. I think the television analysts had Ellis probably winning the first round with David Benavidez sweeping the rest of the fight. But even Ellis winning that first round, it was close. I probably had Benavidez winning. I do want to mention, I can't say his name, but it looks like it's spelled like Isaac. They call him like Isaac Cruz or something. Fought Romero, Matias Romero on the undercard. This Isaac Cruz kid looks really, I call him kid 'cause he's like 5'4". I can't remember the division, lightweight. This guy looks like a little Tank Davis. Look out for this dude. He moved forward the entire fight, and he looks like he can be a threat in the next few years. We'll probably see him on like a bigger stage at some point. Terrell Gachet beat Jamonte Clark, first round knockout. I like Jamonte Clark a lot. He's the guy who got knocked out of the ring a few years ago, just got up, dusted himself off, walked back in, and with those things, they're like a 20 count when you get knocked out of the ring. Got back in the ring and fight. Terrell Gachet beat him in the first round, but Jamonte Clark, I always enjoy watching his fights. Just want to touch on them quickly. With Benavidez and Ellis, this was all Benavidez pretty much the entire fight, but Ellis, that's a tough dude. Even Benavidez said he thought he would have knocked him out earlier, and he was kind of surprised that Ellis lasted as long as he did. And that I'll leave it right there for now. I know there's some after the fight, Benavidez said a lot of things about a lot of other fighters and where his career is going, but I'll turn it over to you guys.
Well, speaking of that, Judge, where do you think Benavidez goes from here? Does he got to fight with Errol Spence in his future, or a different fighter? What do you think?
Errol Spence, huh?
Errol Spence?
Wow.
Man, I don't know. That's a jump from 168 to 147. I mean, I don't know if Spence is going to get that fat, but that's interesting. I guess we'll talk about that at a later time, maybe. In terms of Benavidez, I mean, there's a lot of people at 168 that he can still fight. Obviously, Ellis proved himself to be a much tougher opponent that a lot of people gave him credit for, and a lot of people are giving Ellis a lot more credit because of that. But I mean, it's tough to say. He's probably going to fight. Alvarez is going to fight BJS, right? After that, the only person that Alvarez hasn't fought at 168 is Plant. So Alvarez and Plant are probably going, well, besides Benavidez, Alvarez and Plant are probably going to fight at some point if Alvarez wants to do, I don't know, something, right? I mean, Benavidez is probably going to have to fight, I mean, the likes of a Callum Smith, BJS. I mean, Durrell, something
I
like
meant to say
that.
Jamal Charlo is what I was talking about.
About Errol Spence. He meant Jamal
Yeah,
Charlo.
I meant Charlo instead of Spence. I had Spence on the mind because we were talking about Crawford earlier. I meant Charlo.
All right.
Jamal versus Benevidez. That's what I'm talking about. All right, never mind. Fine. You know who he should fight? He should fight Amir Khan. Yeah, in your face, James.
Yeah, nothing like stopping a freight train just without warning.
Well, Amir Khan is a freight train. We know that, but I meant Jamal Charlo. Is Jamal Charlo in the future, but David Benavidez is what I meant to say. Sorry.
Look, let me jump in quickly because Benavidez mentioned names like Jamal Charlo. He mentioned Caleb Plant, and finally Canelo Alvarez. I will say it is easy to make those two fights, those two first opponents happen because they're all with the PBC. So I'll if it was up to me, I think Benavidez and Caleb Plant makes the most sense. Charlo moving up to 168, not right now.
Go back on it, James. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, I agree. That's I don't have much to add on that. I don't think Charlo's going to move up. Calling out a lot of names, but I think Benavidez is going to have fight Plant, and then the winner of that will probably fight Alvarez. I'm assuming. So,
Probably at the end of the year after Alvarez fights his 15 fights before then.
Alvarez will fight every month. He
Yeah, why
doesn't
not?
care. So,
Well, hopefully beat BJS. But, all right, let's get to the next one because since my blood pressure is already high from that messing up between Charlo and, anyways, and Errol Spence. This one got my blood boiling, and it also put me and James on a 1.5 hour drunken FaceTime or discussion, which never happens late at night. I'll tell you that. Estrada versus Chocolatito 2. It was on your fancy fight card, James, and it did not disappoint. You definitely would have won some money with that fight card of yours. That was candidate for fight of the year, the exception of the judging. As a judge, what did you think of that fight?
it was just how I was hoping. I was really hoping that it was going to be a brawl, not an all-out brawl. It was still, both guys were still coming out just like they did in Chocolatito. Estrada won. I was really excited. It was a good fight the whole way through. If you like boxing and you like the sport and technicalities, this was a good one to watch. I really enjoyed it. It's just again, at the end you had one of those things that a judge comes out and just has it just super far off, just like it was in the Alvarez Triple G.
Hold an Idle bird on it.
And I just didn't understand that, and still don't understand that. As far as that goes, it just didn't. I mean, to me, it seemed like Chocolatito had it won at least by a round, 115, 113, if not 116, 112. But I would have pushed more for a Chocolatito win or a draw for anything, not an Estrada win. But it is what it is. This is boxing, and this is interesting, because now Sarung Vasai is probably going to step in and not allow the third fight to happen because, I don't know, he's fighting in Thailand and he wants a piece of something because I don't know. I don't
Your
know.
guy, Sarung Vasai?
That guy's super weird, but
Your guy?
yeah, if you want to also see another one, Jessica McCaskill and Breckhouse on the undercard was also a really good fight. McCaskill did win again, which I was not expecting. And I think Breckhouse might be done. McCaskill is now calling out Clarissa Shields as well, and Clarissa Shields is saying that she will come down to 147 and rain fire. So
I called that passing the torch fight. That's
well, I don't know. I mean,
she proved that she won that fight hands down. I mean, there was no doubt about it in that fight. I didn't think.
She looked a lot more powerful, 100%. I'd be curious to see. I don't remember where Michaela Mayer fights, but she's another one like to throw into the mix of this too. But yeah, I don't know. The Estrada Chocolatito, that was a shame.
Well, getting back to the Estrada Chocolatito fight, Chocolatito just keeps coming at you. He just stands there and watching these guys go toe to toe for that long, just standing there, almost like a Rocky movie, just punching nonstop in the center of the ring. And then when Chocolatito would get him up against the ropes, he would hurt Estrada. He hurt Estrada a few times early on. He buckled his legs a little bit. I just do not see. I had it 116, 113 for Chocolatito. That's what I had it at. But I do not see how they messed that up. And once they announced that first scorecard, I was like, there's no way Chocolatito won this fight. Or, I knew they were going to hose him at that point, and I was not happy about it. But Filthy Rich, what's next for Estrada Chocolatito? Are they going to have a rematch, or do you think Sarungvasai sticks his nose in there and makes Estrada fight him, or what do you think?
So first thing I want to say, with the judging, there needs to be something done about these judges. Now I'm not sure who's in charge of suspension. You can the WBC or somebody can suspend him. That doesn't mean the IBF can't bring him back in. Las Vegas or Nevada or California can suspend him. That doesn't mean he can't judge in New York or Texas. There needs to be something done about this poor judging. There needs to be a real suspension. If it were up to me and I can make some call, I would say minimum 1 year, no more judging. After that, a 5-year probation with no main event. You want to screw up an undercard? Go screw up an undercard. But you cannot have these guys judging main events when it's this lopsided. Even Chris Mannix at the end of the fight said that was a lopsided scorecard where 113, 115 probably made the most sense across the board, with probably Chocolatito either winning or a draw. Want to get that out of the way.
I also want to point on this that too. He did get suspended, but even when Adelaide Burr got suspended for the Canelo Triple G fight, she was back doing fights 1 month later. So I mean, that's nothing. That's ridiculous. 1 month. Like, you have a month off between fights anyway, usually. So that it's like a nothing suspension. It's ridiculous. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, it's one thing to suspend them, but make sure they're not involved in a main event anymore. Again, you want to screw up an undercard or something, which is not okay. Don't do that either. But at least they can it's a probationary thing where
if you're a bad referee during the NFL season, you don't get to do the Super Bowl. You have to just keep doing the little regular season games, the lower fights, until you're good enough to do the main event or the Super Bowl, So it should be. It's terrible. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, put them on a probationary basis where they do undercards for a while, and if they can prove that they know what they're doing again, then go ahead and maybe put them in a main event after 5 years, though. 3 years minimum, 5 years. Give them another shot, but that's not saying that they should ever be in a main event as a judge ever again. Now, what's next? The easy answer for Estrada is Sarungvasai. He's supposed to be the mandatory for the winner of that fight, so make it Sarungvasai. And personally, I'd rather see Sarungvasai Estrada than Sarungvasai Chocolatito. I think Sarungvasai already owns Chocolatito. I don't want to see a third fight. It'd be like Tyson Fury versus Wilder again. Let's just call it what it is. For Chocolatito, what's next for him? Give him someone like one of the Maloney twins, the better of the. Is it Andrew? Is he the better one? Give him Andrew Maloney, or throw in like a Carlos Cuadras. He knows Cuadras pretty well. He can beat up Carlos Cuadras. But yeah, I think Estrada Sarungvasai is the easy answer. Chocolatito, give him someone like Maloney, which is a hard fight to make with Top Rank and DAZN. Maybe Triller steps in on that one. Or Chocolatito Cuadras. I think that's an easy fight to make. I think they're both with DAZN.
You did bring up Triller there. Chocolatito would be awesome on Triller. He'd fit right in there. I'll tell you that right now. Watching Snoop Dogg call one of Chocolatito's fights, where he's just nothing but action is basically what Chocolatito is. He stands there and goes, I want to see the rematch. I think Chocolatito owns. You said Sarungvasai owns Chocolatito. Well, Chocolatito owns Estrada in my opinion. He beat him this time. He beat him the last time. So I mean, he should get another chance to win all the belts, because I think Chocolatito won that fight and he should get a chance to win the belts. Judge, I'm sure you probably agree with me, but I'll give you a chance to agree with Rich instead.
Is there still mutes?
No,
I'm out of mute.
you didn't
Oh,
win.
all
No.
right.
Yeah. No, he's out of mutes too.
Just making sure, man. No, I mean, I don't. I would see Chocolatito surrounded beside. You might be right. You might be right. That might be Chocolatito's kryptonite, right? 100%. But I
Is
think
that why
we
you
need
hate Strong Versailles so much?
No, just got that sarang vasai. What do you want? What do you want from me? All right. I want a rubber match. I want a rubber match against Gonzalez Chocolatito. I mean Estrada Chocolatito. I want to see it again. Why not? Bring it back one more time. Because Chocolatito, these guys are old. They're not even old, but they're old for their division, But that's what I'd rather see. I don't really sarang vasai doesn't excite me anymore. And I don't see any other big names that are really gonna draw in anything at 115 like Estrada Chocolatito. So
Well, it's those three. Those three are the whole the three kings of the 115 division. I mean, there's really not much else that draws money besides those three.
name Sarang Vasai's last two fights.
Uh,
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Anyway, moving on. Yeah.
Well, he just beat a guy on Friday. What was it, last Friday? He beat up some dude on Friday. I think that was a 4-round fight or something.
Yeah, that was his delivery driver. He beat up a delivery driver because he didn't bring the soy sauce with his food. Very upsetting.
No, he did bring the soy sauce. He didn't bring them little corns that he likes. Little corn
Let me tell you, the one thing, I don't know if we're agreeing on this, but I have thought maybe someone needs to move up a division where the monster Inoue is, but I think these guys are right where they need to be. I would not move divisions with these guys, all three of them, or whoever else we've added, but stay at, 115? Stay there. I think this is a good division for these guys.
Well, I don't think any one of those guys can beat anyway. I just don't.
I don't think so either.
Gonzalez
stay
is
where you
already
are.
4-division champ, man. Like he's getting
tough.
up. He's not like Pacquiao. I mean, he's really good in my opinion, but he's not. Pacquiao's a one in a million, man. I don't know.
Yeah, but he
I
has
agree.
cement hands.
Yeah,
I know.
He got cement in his gloves. That hard plasters.
I mean, that's tough. I mean, I don't know, how does he eat? How does he do anything? Go to the bathroom, open doors for people. I don't know. He
that's
holds
why
a microphone.
I don't know. But
How does he do his karaoke?
do you think Chocolatito would give Inoue a fight there, James, or not?
I mean, it'd be a fight, but I just don't.
I don't see him standing toe to toe with Inoue like that, like he can do with Estrada.
I don't know, man. I just don't. I think I agree with Rich. I think this is as far as Chocolatito goes. He's 115 is his top. Going to 118 or higher. I don't think that's for him.
One thing I did want to touch on, James, I forgot to bring it up, but that also on that undercard of the Estrada Chocolatito was that 4'11" boxer. What was his name?
Vega.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, what a heart-filled fight that guy was. He was I had him winning until winning the belt until he broke his hand on the top of Japanese guy's head. I can't think of his name.
I don't remember the name either, but I know what you're
remember the
talking
name,
about. Yeah, it was a good fight.
A 4'11" boxer. I mean, I'd never seen that before, and he was fast and he was strong, and I felt really bad for him when he broke his hand. And that ref was a little slow on stopping that fight. He could have got his career ended with when he was backed up against the ropes with his hand broken. But
he dodged it.
I know, but if he didn't, that would have taken his head off into the third row. But Vega, I feel bad for him. I think he should get a rematch because when his hand heals up, that was a great fight. That whole card I thought was a really good card, top to bottom. I watched that one on Saturday, top to bottom. It was a lot of good fights on that card, except for the main event decision that was ruined the night for me. Thanks, judges. Anyway, all right, you guys ready to move on to Brews and Tributes? New segment?
Yes.
Yes.
Bring it on.
Yes. All right. Let me hit the bell. All right. Brews and Tributes is something that we decided we're going to do every third week of the month. And we're going to tribute a retired or former boxer and just kind of spotlight their career, talk about things we love about them. And of course, this week we have to talk about Marvin Hagler, the sad passing of Marvin Hagler, one of the best boxers of all time. I'd love to hear some stories about you guys, about your thoughts on Marvin Hagler, some of your favorite fights and some of your favorite moments. Filthy Rich, let's start with you. You're more of the historian of our group here, but
You're in trouble.
What are some of your things about Marvin Hagler?
Well, first of all, his name's Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Why do I bring that up? Do you know where this is going? So apparently, there was an ABC, I believe it was an ABC ring announcer refused to call the man Marvelous Marvin Hagler. So he legally got his name changed from Marvin Nathaniel Hagler to Marvelous Marvin Hagler. And this forced everyone at that point to call him or address him and enter the ring as Marvelous Marvin Hagler. So
That's
I mean, that's one of the coolest stories that I will be able to provide today. Just to go over quickly over his career, he was 62-3 with 2 draws. Those 3 losses all came by decision, and he probably could have won. I think they were all split decision or majority decision, but draws or losses, but he could have won all 3 of his losses. He could have been undefeated, really. 52 knockouts. He beat 6 former champions but only 2 Hall of Famers, and that would be he didn't beat Ray Leonard. He beat the other 2 kings, Hearns and Duran.
Yep.
His last victory was against John Mugabe, the Beast, John Mugabe. This guy was 25-0 with 25 knockouts. Talk some trash, and Hagler beat him in the 11th round. He just knocked him down, couldn't get up. It was, and when you see Hagler go to the neutral corner, you could see breath come from his mouth. It was an outdoor fight, and everybody was in jackets and hats. It was cold outside, and you can see his breath come out, a deep breath. Sugar Ray Leonard was at that fight, actually. When they panned over to Sugar Ray Leonard, I don't know, Tom Selleck was there, so they focused on Tom Selleck. That is
he's Magnum PI, man.
He was at the fight. He was there, and when the cameraman or whoever was told, hey, go focus on Ray Leonard, man, they looked at Tom Selleck, but Tom Selleck's here. And I just wanted to one last thing to touch on some of the middleweight greats. I put someone obviously Ray Robinson as at the top, Harry Greb and Mickey Walker right below Ray Robinson, but Hagler's name belongs with the likes of LaMotta and Hopkins, Monzon, Julian Jackson, Reuben Carter, Gene Fulmer, Rocky Graziano, guys like that. And for contemporary boxers, he's right there with the Roy Joneses and the Triple G's. So that is my little Marvelous Marvin Hagler treat for you, the viewer. Marvelous Marvin Hagler, to you, my friend.
Judge, what are your thoughts and memories of Marvelous Marvin Hagler?
Well, obviously, if you think of Marvelous Marvin Hagler, everyone's going to think of his fight against the Hitman, right? Tommy Hearns.
Best round
100%. That was just, you want to come out firing and watch just an intense couple rounds of boxing. That was fantastic. And people, I mean, he's going to be remembered for that forever, because at the time, I think Hearns was he undefeated at that time?
No, actually, he
was 40-1 at the time. Hearns.
The Mugabe fight was right after the Hitman Hearns fight.
Yep. Hearns was 40-1 at the time.
Yeah. Okay. So, but Hearns was a big talker at that point. It was just, they were both similar fighters in terms of dominance. And it was that's what most people are going to remember. But I've got there's 2 other fights that I remember with Marvelous Marvin Hagler. But real quick, he's only been knocked down once his whole career, which is kind of weird. Only once, and it was for about I think 1.5 seconds, because I'm pretty sure when he got knocked down, he jumped right back out against Juan Roldan. It was and he was dude, you call that a knockdown?
Yeah, it was a hit behind the head. At least that's what I saw.
Yeah, he was so pissed about that. He was like, "Come on, ref, that's some bull." But I mean, there's 2 big fights that I had, and I want to touch a little bit on both of them. The first one I'm going to talk on that kind of springboarded him into his 7 years of title defenses was his fight against Alan Minter. and I don't think a lot of people probably don't know who that is, but it was obviously a British boxer at the time, was still fairly dominant for his little deal. But he came over, he fought him in England, in Wembley. So at that time, however big Wembley was pretty crazy. But these guys both had a chip on their shoulder and were going at it nonstop until there was an accidental headbutt kind of early in the game, and they had to eventually stop the fight because of this cut above Minter's eye, and the crowd got so pissed off that they were throwing full beer cans, and if you watch this fight, they're coming from everywhere. They had to put, it must have been 12 people around Hagler to get him out of the ring so he wouldn't get just bombarded by full beer cans. It was like the Philadelphia fans. Like, thanks, Phillies. Jesus. So that was crazy. So he never even got to get, announced as, here's your winner. They had to rush him out of the whole stadium because it was so it was just so chaotic, which was just defeating because that was the first time he won the WBA, WBC, and the ring titles at that time. So that's one of them that was pretty crazy. The other one that I wanted to touch on was also his fight against Roberto Duran. I think that was one of his better fights, if not his
controversial
top
fight.
Well, of course it is, but it was, I mean, this is still back, in 83, so they still had 15-round fights, and he was going, this wasn't your normal Hagler fight because they were playing off each other real well, right? And they were both they're both trying to bait each other in to hit. So they're both like trying to get that counter punch, so trying to get the other one to bite. They did it for a long time throughout this fight, and it was still a really good fight. But Duran just, I think at that time, it was one of those things that Hagler just, one of the few besides like Sugar Ray at that point that went the distance. I mean, this went 15 rounds, and he still won by unanimous decision, but I think it was a lot closer than people saw, because Duran at that point was still 77 and 5 or something like that.
4, yeah.
I mean,
late
that
in
was
his career, but
he would late in his career, he had like 100 and something wins. He was still pretty dominant at that time, in my eyes, and Hagler was still just fantastic. The fact that he was able to adapt back and forth with styles and not just be one style all the time. He was multifaceted and just ridiculous with power. I mean, 52 knockouts and 67 fights is pretty crazy, man. But yeah, those are the big ones that I think of when I think of Hagler, and it's just a shame that when he lost to Leonard that he never fought again. But this is to you, buddy.
yeah, I mean, it was a good fight to go out on. He pushed Ray Leonard pretty hard in that fight. It was amazing. And when he knocked out Hearns, Hearns had only lost to Sugar Ray Leonard at that point, so that was his one loss with Sugar Ray Leonard. But Marvelous Marvin Hagler, that's a heck of a fight to go out on against Sugar Ray Leonard.
And he thought he won that fight.
I know he did.
He was waiting for. They both retired after that fight.
And there's an argument for it. I mean, you watch that fight, there's definitely an argument that says Hagler won that fight. So, I mean, it's close. But very sad for the boxing world to hear that Marvelous Marvin Hagler died this week. Way too young. I think he was 66 years old. Way too young. I mean, it's old for a boxer, sad to say, but it's too young for the earth. It's too bad that he left. He was one of the good ones too. I mean, he was always, from what I hear, he did a lot of good stuff. He went broke, I think, later in his life, didn't he? Wasn't he working like security guard or something somewhere?
Construction.
Construction, that's what it was. Yeah.
Probably did it for fun. Yeah.
No, he went
after he
broke.
retired, he moved to Italy and made a couple movies.
Yeah.
Came back with a heavy Italian accent, and he eventually went away, but came back with an Italian accent.
Right on. Well, let's do a toast to Marvelous Marvin Hagler from Brews and Boxing. Cheers. Rest in peace, brother.
Drink to you.
All right, that's Brews and Tributes for this week. Filthy Rich, why don't you bring us on home?
Well, first, to everyone who wished me a happy birthday and all that good stuff, thank you guys, friends and family across the world. Thank you. Want to say congrats to Minnesota's own Molly Holly for her induction into the WWE Hall of Fame. Congrats, Molly. We'll drink to you. Saturday night, check out Raekwon versus Ghostface in the Versus Battle live on Instagram. When you're done with that, Artur Beterbiev, the King of 175, is fighting.
I forgot that Molly Holly was from Forest Lake. I forgot that. I knew that, but I forgot that. That's right. I liked her as what was it when she was the Hurricanes ballet? What was it? The sidekick. What was her name? Mighty Molly. Was it Mighty Molly? The Hurricane. Oh, never mind. All right, Judge. If they're watching us, where can they listen to us? If they're listening to us, where can they watch?
You confuse me.
If
Just
they're
kidding.
watching us right now, where
If
can
they're
they listen
watching
to
us, they can listen to us on any podcast site, any of the major podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, or not YouTube. That's where you can watch us if you're listening to us. Google, Alexa, hey Google, play Brews and Boxing. You get on a bunch of these every time. Otherwise, go to YouTube /Brews and Boxing and watch and see us and look at Filthy Rich's beautiful tie.
Beautiful tie and the Mickey's mantle behind him, and you can see his face as he brings a tear to his own eye talking about LeBron James. Also follow us on all social medias. We're on Facebook, Brews and Boxing, Instagram, Brews and Boxing, Twitter, Brews and Boxing. Am I missing one in there? I don't know. I don't think we have a Snapchat yet. But hey, Judge, you want to do our Snapchat?
No.
Okay.
Brews
good
and
talk.
Boxing.
I'm done with you, James.
Oh, he got it in. He finally got it in. I didn't know if you were going to get in. I had to find a place to put Amir Khan in there, and now I was wondering if you were going to get the I'm done with you in there. All right. For Judge Jimmy James and Filthy Rich, the birthday boy, I am Raider Live. Thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you guys next week.